Come on in and have a seat. It's time to sit down and have a chat at Stella Ruth's table. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, whatever time of day it is where you are. I greet you with a big old Texas smile and a hug from afar. You have tuned in to Stella Ruth's table, where we talk about life and everything that comes with it. Our motto here at Stella Ruth's table is live life, laugh often, and eat some good food while you are doing it. Hello, my name is Kimberly Brown, and I am your host. And but one thing you should know about me is I am unapologetically myself, because I don't know who else to be. So I am so glad that you took a moment and tuned in to listen, give us a listen on today. Today is the episode 2 of our Prophecy, Process, and Promise series, where you are knowing that you are headed for great things and you have things greater coming in your life. However, you understand that embracing the process to that greater thing that you're on a journey from is how you get to your success and your promise. So episode 2 today is called Beauty in Being Broken. Let me say that for you again. Beauty in Being Broken. So we're going to talk a little bit about how the broken parts of your life make up who you need to be and how you find the beauty in that. We have broken hearts, we have broken spirits, we have broken relationships, and of course that just makes your whole life broken. When your heart is broken, you have to learn that in the midst of that brokenness in your heart, it teaches you some lessons. So we're going to talk just a little bit about that on today. So first we're going to cover broken hearts. Hearts can be broken not just in romantic relationships, marriages, boyfriends, girlfriends, fiancés, any kind of significant other, but your heart can be broken by your family members, your friends, your children, and you have to learn how to help that heart to mend and move forward. And then your spirit can be broken. And that's when everything seems to be going completely wrong in your life and you feel like everything is falling apart and you just can't go any further. And you're like, man, I just can't do this anymore. That's your spirit being broken. But what happens when your heart is broken and your spirit is broken is that even though you're hurting and your spirit has opened up and broken down, it starts to make room for the good things. And you have to see that beauty in that. That brokenness in your heart and that brokenness in your spirit starts to allow you to be able to see and remember what broke that heart in the first place, or what broke your spirit in the first place, and maneuver and make better decisions in your life. And when your life is broken, you can take all these little pieces and they look like puzzle pieces because there's so many different broken pieces, and you take them and you put them together and you make them into a beautiful picture that you want it to be. So now when you have all of this brokenness in your life, and that be your broken heart, your broken spirit, your broken relationships. Yes, relationships can be broken, and that's not just a spouse or a significant other. That is also your relationship with your family members, or your relationships with your friends. Me and my son, who is my oldest child, who is my heart, we were broken for quite some time. We had our broken relationship, and in the midst of our broken relationship, we were able to mend through time. And once we mended in that time, everything started to kind of fit together again. And it hurt me to not be able to talk to him and have that relationship that I normally had with him. But he had to go through some things so that he can better understand me and appreciate me. And I had to watch him go through that so that I can better understand him and appreciate him. And we were able to start mending that back together. Instead of me being able to talk to him every day, I was able to call and check on him. And now we talk almost every day, and that relationship has been mended, and it's beautiful. So you have to allow the rebuilding. And then you also have to forgive yourself for the brokenness. Now, what do I mean when I say forgive yourself for the brokenness? Your heart may be broken, but we as women, and I'm just going to say it from a woman's perspective, excuse my muddledness, I've been talking all day, so, but let's talk about it from a woman's perspective. We as women have a tendency to get hung up on time. And when I say that, I mean it this way. And I'm speaking from my own personal experience. I've been married now 3 times. Third time's a charm. Thank God. Don't have to do it again. I'm not going anywhere. He's not going anywhere. And if I talk about leaving him, he said, where are we going? And I do the same. But the first time I was married, I had been with that person 4 years prior to getting married to him. And then in the 3 years that we were married, I think we lived in the same house roughly about 6 months. And that wasn't 6 months consecutively. That was 6 months over a period of 3 years. And I was hung up on all of the time that I had spent with this person and the time that I put into this relationship. And so I didn't want to feel like a fool. When he asked me to marry him, I knew I should have said no. But I had been with him 4 years already. And in the 4 years that I had been with him, I was like, it's going to get better. It's going to get better. It's going to get better. But I still said yes, even though knowing that this relationship had not gotten better. It was not a good relationship. And so I was hung up on the time because we don't want to feel like a fool. We don't want to feel stupid, or we don't want to feel less than smart. Let me say it a better way. We don't want to feel less than smart for staying in something that wasn't working for so long. So we stay saying, if we just stick in it and we just fight through it, it's going to work out. Well, there's nothing wrong with fighting for what you believe in and fighting for what you've worked so hard for. And yes, all marriages and relationships are work, so you have to fight for it, especially if you just know in your heart of hearts that this is where you're supposed to be. But here was the problem. I knew that's not where I should have been. I knew I should not have been with this person. I knew that this relationship was not working. But because I had spent so much time in it and put so much into it, I stayed a lot longer than I should have. And so I had to learn to forgive myself for allowing that heartbreak break. Not that I could have done anything about it, because he was who he was and he was going to be who he was going to be. And he hurt me, and he, my heart was broken because he treated me really badly. But after it was all done, I found myself going, God, you were so stupid. Why did you stay so long? What were you thinking? Why were you with this person? I had to forgive myself. When I say forgive yourself for being brokenhearted, I'm not saying that it's your fault that your heart is broken and you could have done anything to stop it, because you probably could not have. But forgive yourself. Don't beat yourself up because you got your heart broken, because sometimes that's just what happens. Don't beat yourself up because you got, that your spirit was broken a little bit. Don't beat yourself up because you were in this relationship that was broken. Don't beat yourself up. Forgive yourself for that situation that you were in that you didn't see was a bad situation until it was well into it, So forgive yourself for that. Then, after you come to terms and you understand that you have suffered this brokenness, you also have to allow the rebuilding and the mending process. Okay? You have to allow the rebuilding and the mending process in your life. And I get a little emotional when I'm talking about this kind of stuff here, so please forgive me. But I'm speaking from personal experience. My second marriage, like I said, I've been married 3 times. I'm not ashamed. First 2 didn't work out. Some people just don't need to be together, and sometimes we don't see that right away. And my second marriage, I was married to this person for 10 years. I was fully vested in this relationship. He was verbally, emotionally, and mentally abusive. And I suffered through that all that time because all I could think about was I've been here, we're married, we're working through it. I know he loves me, even though I could tell he didn't. And when it all ended, because it ended so very badly, I wanted to wallow in the pain. And he ended just to full disclosure, he ended our marriage with a phone call. He was in another state working. Of course, I'm from Dallas, born and raised in Dallas, had lived there my whole life. I was in Dallas, and I was living and raising my children, and then he had 4 children. I was raising, those children as well. And one of his children, who was a baby when we got married, he had lived with me his entire life. He was like 10-ish, and so 10, 11, somewhere up in there. And we had, I was sitting there. Let me backtrack. So I had been raising the children and doing the things that I knew I was supposed to do as a wife. And I actually was at our oldest daughter, his oldest daughter's job, waiting to pick her up. And I had went across the street to the bookstore and walking around, and he calls me and he says, the work is dried up here and I'm not making money like I was. I just don't know what to do. We're having a normal husband-wife conversation. And I said to him, then, come home. We'll regroup. We'll figure out what else to do. It's going to be fine. Because that's what you say as a wife. And he said to me, I'm not coming home. I'm never coming back to Dallas. Dallas is no longer my home. And I said, what are you saying? Now keep in mind, at no point did he say, hey, when you get home, I need to talk to you. We really need to have a conversation, anything like that. And we had just got back from a Hawaii vacation. We had been in Hawaii like a week and a half. And so, I'm trying to understand what's happening right this minute, And so he said, Dallas is no longer my home. And I said, what do you mean? He said, just what I said. I said, well, what about us? He said, well, I've decided, his exact words, I've decided that it is costing me too much emotionally to be married. Costing him too much emotionally to be married. That's a way of putting it. So, of course, I was devastated. I was heartbroken, and I didn't know what to do. And I'm like, are you serious? You are ending our marriage over the phone from 2 states away? And I was hurt, and I was just devastated. And so I went home, and I was in my room, and I cried and cried and cried. And I'd been there probably about 3 or 4 days in the room, barely eating. And my mother comes by, and she says, I know this hurts, but you have to get up from here. You can't sit here like this. You got to get up, wash your face, and move on. You have children that need you, and you have to live. And it's not easy, and it's not going to be easy, but you have to live. And it's not going to get better right away, but it will get better. And she said, move on. I'm not saying move on and find you somebody else. I'm just saying live, honey. And guess what? I heard her. And so in saying that, I'm saying you have to allow first the shock and the hurt, but then you can't stay there. You have to get up and move on. You have to rebuild. You have to allow the mending process to take over. Then you have to stand toe to toe with what hurt you or what broke your heart. I had to stand toe to toe with the reality that I should have left this man 5 years prior to this occurring. I had to stand toe to toe with the reality that he had cheated on me several times, and I had found out about it, but I didn't walk away because I was trying to save the marriage. I had to stand toe to toe with the fact that This man did not love me. He just wanted someone to raise his children because he didn't want their mothers to have them. But being the kind of woman that I was, he knew that I would not turn my back on any child. I had to stand toe to toe with the fact that I had been married to a selfish person for 10 years. I knew how selfish he was. I knew this relationship was not working, but I didn't leave. This relationship didn't work. It wasn't working. It was not a good relationship. The man looked me in my face one day and said to me, I want to break your spirit, which is something you would never say to someone that you love. But the fact that he said that to me should have let me know right then that I need to walk away. This is not where I need to be. But instead of me walking away, I tried to stay. So I had to stand toe to toe with the hurt, the pain. I had to stand toe to toe with the part that I played in my own demise. And then I had to stand toe to toe with the fact that given his personality and how condescending he was and how hurtful of a person he was and how so nonchalant he was about how badly he treated people, that I would never get the closure that I thought I deserved from this relationship. Because he doesn't see the problem. So you have to understand and be honest with the brokenness. Allow the rebuilding and the mending to start. And then you have to stand toe to toe with what or who broke you, even if that means you took part in it. Then learning to allow those scars that are there from the hurt be fuel to press you forward. The scars help you to remember. Not saying that you need to hold a grudge or that you need to be angry or continue to be hurt or just be so closed off because no, I'm not going to ever let anybody hurt me again. But those scars that you get from the brokenness and the hurt and the pain remind you of the things that have happened, so that you can be smarter in your decisions and smarter in your choosing and allowing certain people to be in your life. One thing I can honestly say is that when I met my current husband, him and I, we've been married going on the 9th year now, and it has been a beautiful 9 years. But when I met him, he had to work. He had to work hard for it because I was so untrusting at that moment. Because I had been through so much and I had been through so many horrible relationships and had been mistreated, and every little thing he did reminded me of something. And so because that every little thing reminded me, I had to take a step back and remember, okay, he's not that person. He is not the same person as the other person, And so in the midst of that, those scars helped me to remember. So I was able to put my foot down and say, hey, I won't stand for this. I don't like that and this, that, and the other. And we learned to balance each other out. Was it easy at first? No, it was not easy. I loved him dearly, but he was he was an aggressive person because he had this strong personality. And I, who am not very aggressive, but still, well, at the time was not very aggressive, but I was stubborn. I stand tall in what I feel and what I need and what I want. And so it helped me to be more forthcoming with what is okay with me and what's not okay with me in a relationship. So it helped me to remember. And I didn't give up on love. I just decided that I was not going to allow the things that I had previously allowed again. And so in that respect, and he did the same for me. We sat down for the first time ever. When we went on our first date, we sat down and had a real conversation. What are you looking for? Are you just looking for somebody to hang out with? Are you looking for a relationship? What are you looking for? Well, this is what I'm looking for. This is what I'm looking for. And we had conversation about it, which is great. You always want to make sure that you have conversation. But had I not been broken the way I had been broken, I wouldn't be able to get to that point. The brokenness makes you stronger. The brokenness makes you understand better. The brokenness makes you remember so that you can have smarter decisions. You just have to heal from the brokenness. It's not going to happen overnight, but you have to allow yourself to heal in that process and use that as fuel to move forward. You will always hear me say, use those things as fuel, because one of my things that I used to tell people all the time, I can show you better than I can tell you. I would love for somebody to tell me I can't do something, because guess what? That's my fuel. Now I got to prove you wrong, because I'm an only child. I'm stubborn. So now, then, at the end of the day, you have to remember how hard you fought to mend and heal and move forward. When you are moving past your brokenness and your hurt and your pain, that's a hard fight to stay in the fight. Everybody goes through stuff, but it's hard to stay in the fight and keep fighting for your life, because basically your journey is a fight for your own life. It's a fight for your own happiness. It's a fight for your own success. So in the midst of you fighting for that, just keep remembering how hard you worked to get where you are. You're not finished with the journey, but you worked hard to get from there to here. And because you worked hard from there to here, you deserve every good thing that's coming to you. So find the beauty in being broken and healing from the brokenness. When you're in the brokenness, you can't really find the beauty. It's hard. You're like, man, this is not beautiful at all. I can't believe this is happening to me. But when you start to heal and you find the beauty, because guess what? This is your fuel. This is part of your journey. And so you're going to take that and continue to create a better version of who you already are. So we're going to leave it right there. I'm going to let that sink in and melt into your brain. You guys have been a wonderful, wonderful listening audience. Although I can't see you, I know you're there, and I love you. I appreciate you for tuning in. If you want to send us an email and ask a few questions or make some comments, you can do that at lovemom2930@gmail.com. You can check us out on YouTube. I have a YouTube channel. It's a cooking channel, and that is Stella Ruth 2930. And we also have a YouTube channel, Stella Ruth's Table. That is our podcast channel. You can find me on Instagram at Stella Ruth 2930. I'm sorry, the YouTube channel is just Stella Ruth, but the Instagram is Stella Ruth 2930. You can find us there. You can find us on, I have two channels on YouTube. So one is Stella Ruth and one is Stella Ruth's Table. And then the Stella Ruth's Table is the podcast channel. You can also find us on Twitter and Facebook. Just look for Stella Ruth. And thanks so much for dropping by and listening in. You guys have a wonderful rest of your day. God bless you. Keep eating good, keep living life, and keep laughing off.